He was born into circumstances that gave him no advantage. His family had little, his environment offered even less. From the very beginning, he faced challenges that would have broken most children. Hunger was familiar, struggle was constant, and opportunities were rare. Yet, even as a young boy, he carried something inside him that set him apart, a vision of a life beyond survival. Every night, he would look at the ceiling above his bed and imagine a different future. He imagined standing on a stage, speaking to thousands. He imagined a life where his efforts created change, not just for himself, but for others. These weren't just dreams, they were promises he made silently to himself. And though no one believed in those dreams, he decided that one day he would prove them real. The early years were harsh. School was not easy. Teachers didn't notice him. Classmates mocked him. He was never the fastest runner, never the top student, never the favorite child. It would have been easy to give up and accept the role life seemed to write for him, an invisible boy destined to remain invisible as a man. But he refused. He told himself, if no one sees me now, I will work until the whole world cannot ignore me. So, while others laughed, he studied. While others wasted time, he trained. He worked small jobs to help his family. But late at night, he would steal hours to invest in himself. He read borrowed books under the dim light, scribbled down ideas in a worn-out notebook, and practiced speeches in front of a cracked mirror. The world gave him nothing, but he built his own foundation. At first, progress was invisible. His efforts seemed to vanish into nothing. He worked, he sacrificed, and yet results did not come quickly. Doubt whispered in his ear, "Why are you trying? No one cares. Nothing will change." But he learned to silence that voice with action. He told himself, every step counts, even the ones no one can see. And slowly, brick by brick, something began to change, not in the world around him, but inside him. He became stronger, more disciplined, more focused. The struggles that once crushed him now fueled him. Each setback became training, each rejection became motivation. Years passed. His body grew older, but his spirit grew sharper. And one day, opportunity knocked. It wasn't a big one, it was small, almost insignificant. A chance to speak to a group of 10 people in a community hall. Many would have ignored it, but he treated it like the chance of a lifetime. He poured his heart into it, speaking as if the whole world was listening. Those 10 people listened, and something happened. For the first time, he felt his voice reach beyond himself. He saw eyes filled with inspiration, hearts moved by his words. That moment became the seed that would grow into his destiny. But this was only the beginning. The real journey was still ahead, the journey of pain, sacrifice, failure, and persistence. There was once a boy named Daniel, born in a small countryside town in England. His parents worked long hours in a factory, barely making enough to put food on the table. From the very beginning, life was teaching Daniel a lesson that most people never want to learn: struggle. He wore second-hand clothes, carried old torn shoes to school, and often went hungry when money ran out before the month did. But despite all this, Daniel had something inside him that no one could see, not even himself at that time, a burning fire that said, "Life will not end like this." When Daniel was only 10, he faced his first big challenge. His father lost his job, and the family went days without proper meals. Other kids laughed at him because he looked weak and shabby. Teachers doubted him because he often fell asleep in class out of hunger. But one day, when his school announced a small debate competition, Daniel gathered all his courage to participate. He had no fancy clothes, no polished shoes, no well-prepared notes. He only had his voice and his belief. He stood in front of his classmates and spoke about hope, about how even the darkest night is followed by the morning Sunday. Nobody expected much from him. Yet when he finished, the entire room was silent. The teacher said, "Daniel, you have a gift." That was the first time someone made him believe he was not ordinary. But life wasn't suddenly kind. His teenage years were filled with rejection. He tried for a football team, failed. He applied for a local scholarship, failed. He even tried to work part-time at a store, but the owner told him, "You don't look strong enough." Every failure cut him deep, but strangely, every failure also made him stronger. He started reading books from the local library, walking miles just to sit in that quiet place. While others were wasting time gossiping, Daniel was feeding his mind with biographies of great leaders, thinkers, and warriors. He read about Abraham Lincoln, who failed countless times before becoming president. He read about Thomas Edison, who failed 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Each story whispered in his ear, "Keep going, your story is still being written." At 18, Daniel faced his biggest heartbreak. His mother fell sick. The doctors said treatment would cost more than his family could afford. He felt helpless, broken, angry at the world. But instead of drowning in sorrow, he made a vow to himself. "I will rise so high that my family will never beg for survival again." He took small jobs, cleaning tables, delivering newspapers, working construction. He earned just a few pounds a day, but he never complained. He would return home tired, yet he would still open his books at night, studying by candlelight, whispering to himself, "One day this pain will be my strength." Years passed. Daniel moved to London with nothing but a small bag and a pocket full of dreams. The city was cruel. No one cared who he was. No one offered him comfort. He slept in cheap hostels, sometimes even on the streets. But here's where his fire truly awakened. He began attending free seminars, learning about public speaking, motivation, and leadership. He practiced every day in front of a cracked mirror. People laughed at him, saying, "Who will listen to a poor boy like you?" But Daniel didn't stop. He kept practicing, kept failing, kept rising again. Then came the turning point. One evening, a small community event allowed him 5 minutes on stage, 5 minutes to speak his heart. He told his story, every struggle, every pain, every defeat, and how he turned it into fuel. The audience listened like their lives depended on it. At the end, the room thundered with applause. That day, Daniel realized his voice could move people. His story had power, but success is not built in a single day. Daniel went through years of small victories and big failures. Sometimes no one showed up to his talks. Sometimes he walked home in the rain, broke and hopeless. But he never gave up. He remembered those days when he had no food, and he said to himself, "If I survived that, I can survive this." Slowly, word spread about the young man who spoke from the heart. His talks were raw, real, filled not with theories but with lived experience. People began to invite him, schools, companies, even prisons. Everywhere he went, people connected with his honesty. Daniel's rise wasn't about talent alone, it was about persistence. He believed that while talent opens the first door, persistence keeps every door open. He spoke about discipline, about getting up at 5 a.m., even when you don't feel like it, about choosing progress over comfort, about saying no to excuses. He built himself like a warrior, one brick, one wound, one scar at a time. Today, Daniel stands on the world stage, speaking to thousands across the UK, the US, and beyond. He reminds people that no matter how poor your beginning, no matter how heavy your defeats, your story can change if you refuse to quit. He says, I am not here because I am special. I am here because I never gave up. And that's the truth about life. Every champion you admire was once a struggler no one believed in. Every success story you hear was once a broken soul who decided to fight instead of surrender. Life doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for persistence. Daniel's journey is proof. Proof that you don't need wealth, connections, or luck to rise. You need fire. You need faith. You need to keep moving even when the road is dark. Because the day you stop moving, the day you accept defeat, is the day your story ends. But if you keep walking, even with trembling steps, your sunrise will come. Your time will come. And when it does, the world will not ask where you started, it will only see how far you have come. Daniel's story didn't just stop when he first touched the stage. In fact, that was only the beginning. The real test of his character came when success started knocking, but failure kept pushing back harder. Life, as if testing his patience, kept throwing storms at him. After his first few talks, Daniel thought opportunities would pour in. But weeks went by and no one called. Bills piled up, his savings vanished, and doubt crept into his mind like poison. He wondered if maybe he was fooling himself, maybe he was just chasing an impossible dream. One rainy night, sitting alone on a bench with nothing but a soggy sandwich in his hand, he almost gave up. But then he remembered his mother's words, whispered to him when he was a boy. The night is darkest just before dawn. That memory lit a fire in him once again. Instead of surrendering, Daniel doubled down. He started recording his own speeches, posting them online even when barely 10 people watched. He printed small flyers and handed them out on busy London streets, inviting strangers to free sessions in local halls. Sometimes only 3 people showed up. Sometimes none. But Daniel stood on stage anyway, speaking as if he were addressing thousands. He believed that practice in emptiness would prepare him for the fullness to come. Months of effort began to pay off slowly. A local newspaper wrote a small article about the young man with a powerful story. That one article changed everything. People who had ignored him before now wanted to hear him. Schools began to invite him. Companies wanted him to inspire their employees. He wasn't earning much yet, but for the first time, he felt momentum. But momentum comes with responsibility. One day, after a talk, a young man approached Daniel with tears in his eyes. He said, I was planning to end my life tonight, but after hearing you, I think I'll give myself another chance. That shook Daniel to his core. He realized his words were not just speeches, they were lifelines. People were hanging on to them, believing in them. That responsibility made him work harder than ever before. He studied psychology, human behavior, ancient philosophy, anything that could help him understand the human spirit better. Still, the path was far from smooth. Daniel faced criticism. Some accused him of exaggerating his story. Others mocked him as just another motivational speaker. But Daniel learned to see criticism as fuel. If they doubt me, he said, I'll make them witnesses to my success. By the time he was 28, Daniel had delivered talks in over 100 places. He was no longer the hungry boy in torn shoes. He was a man with a mission. Yet deep inside, he remained humble. He never forgot the nights he went without food. Whenever he earned, he sent money back home, making sure his parents lived in comfort. That, to him, was the sweetest victory. Not fame, not applause, but the smile on his parents' faces. But life was not done testing him. At the age of 30, he suffered a severe accident on a rainy road. Doctors said he might never walk properly again. For weeks, he lay in the hospital, motionless, in pain. His career, his dreams, everything seemed to hang by a thread. People who once praised him began to forget him. It was as if the world moved on without him. Yet lying in that hospital bed, Daniel whispered to himself, "This is not the end. This is another beginning." Day by day, inch by inch, he forced his body to heal. Physical therapy was brutal. There were days he screamed in pain, days he cried in silence, but he remembered the young man who had told him his words saved a life. If I give up now, he thought, what will I teach others? That quitting is okay? No. He decided he would rise not just for himself, but for everyone who ever looked up to him. Months later, Daniel returned to the stage, walking with a slight limp but standing taller than ever before. The audience gave him a standing ovation even before he spoke a word. He said, "They told me I might never walk again. But here I stand, not because I am strong, but because I refuse to quit." The crowd erupted. That speech went viral across the internet. For the first time, millions of people heard his name. From there, his journey skyrocketed. International events called him. He traveled to the United States, delivering talks in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago. He stood on stages where once only his heroes had stood. But even then, he reminded himself, fame is temporary. Impact is permanent. He wasn't chasing applause anymore. He was chasing transformation. One of his most powerful messages was simple: don't wait for the perfect moment. Create the moment with what you have. He told people how he began with nothing but hunger and hope, and how that was enough to start. He showed them his scars, his limp, his failures, and said, "These are not signs of weakness. They are the medals life gave me for refusing to quit." Daniel's story teaches us a timeless truth. Your pain can be your prison, or it can be your passport to greatness. The choice is yours. Most people let pain trap them. Few people, like Daniel, use it as a key to unlock their potential. And perhaps the most inspiring thing about Daniel is this: he is still not done. He believes life is a constant climb. Every time he reaches a new peak, he sees another one waiting. He once said, "When I die, I don't want people to say I was successful. I want them to say, I never stopped trying."